He was the last person I expected to find standing on my porch tall, disheveled, holding a videotape like it was both a gift and a confession. If my neighbors saw us, they'd swear I was inviting trouble into my life, but my heart thudded as though I had just opened the door to fate itself. The town of Claridge wasn't used to mysteries. We were the kind of place where gossip traveled faster than ambulances and everyone knew the color of each other's curtains. Which is why when he showed Upalone, nameless, unannounced, every street lamp seemed to flicker like it, too, was whispering about him. The first tape arrived 2 nights later. Left in my mailbox, no note, no explanation. Just a black VHS with my name scrawled in handwriting so raw it looked like it had bled onto the paper. I pressed play, and suddenly there he was in the screen, his voice soft, his gaze trembling but steady, telling me things no stranger had the right to know. About me. About the way I smiled when I thought no one was looking. About the loneliness I tried to hide beneath my badge. I should have turned it in as evidence. That's what a detective is supposed to do. But instead I rewound it. I watched it again. And again. There was something unbearably intimate about being seen that deeply. Terrified me. Thrilled me. By the time the second tape came, I was waiting for it. Like a sinner waiting for church bells. Desperate to confess but unwilling to repent. The town grew restless around us. People whispered about the stranger renting the abandoned house by the river. Mothers pulled their kids closer when he walked by. And me? I pretended to be investigating him. Pretended the late-night drives to his street were duty, not desire. But then there were the tapes. Always waiting for me. Always peeling me open, layer by layer, until I wasn't sure if I was falling in love or falling apart. He talked about his past, but only in fragments like broken glass scattered across a kitchen floor. A brother he lost, a town he left behind, and shadows he couldn't seem to outrun. Every story he told was half a truth, every smile a little too fragile, like he was daring me to look deeper. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But being a detective meant chasing answers. Not falling into someone's arms, just because their silence was more beautiful than anyone else's laughter. Still, I found myself replaying his words at night. My body curled around the TV glow like it was the only warmth left in the world. Do you ever feel like no matter how many people surround you, you're still the loneliest man alive? He asked once, his voice trembling through the static. Yes. My chest screamed it before my lips could. And then one night he said something that nearly broke me. If you're watching this, it means you haven't given up on me yet. Please don't give up. I drove to the river house that night. Rain fell hard, blurring the streetlights into halos. His windows glowed faintly, a heartbeat in the darkness. I sat in my car, drenched in guilt and desire, wondering if I'd crossed the line between detective and man too many times already. When he opened the door, our eyes met his wide with fear, mine burning with something I couldn't name. We stood there in the storm, 2 men who shouldn't trust each other. And yet, the tapes had already written our story, and I wasn't ready for it to end. The rain did not forgive us. It drummed against the roof, soaked through my jacket, slid down the back of my neck until I shivered. He didn't move to invite me inside. He only watched, like I was some ghost who had knocked on his door instead of a flesh and blood detective. Why do you keep leaving me those tapes? My voice was sharper than I meant it to be, cutting through the night like a blade. For a moment I thought he wouldn't answer. Then his lips parted, trembling around words that seemed to fight their way free. Because you don't see yourself the way the world does. And someone has to show you. The honesty of it pierced deeper than any accusation. I should arrest you, I muttered, though my fists tightened around the tape in my hand as if it were evidence and salvation all at once. You should, he agreed. His eyes never wavered, though his voice broke on the edges of the storm. But you won't. And damn it, he was right. Inside, his house smelled of dust and river air. It was barely furnished, just a sagging couch, a flickering lamp, a stack of old VHS tapes balanced precariously on a crate. Each tape was labeled with shaky handwriting. Some names scratched out, rewritten, hidden. My chest tightened. This wasn't just about me. You've been doing this for a long time, I said quietly. His shoulders hunched as he lowered himself onto the couch. Longer than I should have. Sometimes. Recording is the only way I know how to exist. The only way I can speak without people shutting me down. And now I'm your, what, project? The way he looked at me, the knit wasn't anger. It was something far more dangerous. No. You're the first person I ever wanted to see me. The words hung in the dim room, raw and terrifying. I should have walked away. I should have treated every tape like evidence, every smile like manipulation. But instead, I sat down across from him, the thunder echoing the rhythm of my pulse. We didn't touch. We didn't dare. But in that silence, I felt the weight of something beginning. Something I wasn't sure I could stop. The next morning, the town was buzzing. Mrs. Crawford from the diner claimed she'd seen me driving near the river house in the storm. Sheriff Donnelly gave me a look that lingered too long, like he was piecing together a puzzle I hadn't meant to scatter across the table. You're spending a lot of time down there, the sheriff said as he poured himself coffee. You find something? Not yet. I lied smoothly, though guilt crawled under my skin like ants. But I will. What would he say if he knew the truth? That instead of interrogating the stranger, I was replaying his confessions at night, learning the rhythm of his breathing through a screen? That my professional detachment had melted away the first time he'd said my name like it was more than just syllables? I shoved the thought down harder than I should have. That evening, another tape appeared. This time, slipped under the windshield wiper of my car. My name written again, trembling ink. I looked around the parking lot, half expecting to see him in the shadows. But there was only the buzz of neon signs and the hum of traffic. At home, I pressed play. He was sitting on his floor, the lamp behind him turning his hair into a halo of shadows. His voice was low, confessional. Do you know what it's like to live in a place where everyone thinks they know you, but they don't even see you? To be a rumor before you're even a person? That's what I ran from. That's what I'm still running from. He paused, dragging a hand across his face. But when I see you, I stop running. Just for a little while. The screen went black, and I broke. The push and pull consumed me. By day, I played the role of detective, filing reports, chasing leads, pretending not to notice the whispers about the stranger. By night, I let myself fall into his words, as though every tape was a lifeline pulling me deeper into his orbit. But Claridge wasn't kind to secrets. The first crack came when Deputy Hall brought me a box. Found this dumped behind the gas station. Thought you should see. Inside were tapes, dozens of them. Some with names, others blank. Faces flickered on the screen as I watched them later in my office. Strangers, townsfolk, even kids from years back. He had been recording pieces of lives for longer than anyone realized. My stomach twisted. What did that make me? Just another recording. Another fragment in his collection? I drove to the river house that night, anger burning through my veins. He opened the door before I knocked, as though he'd been waiting. You've been filming people for years, I snapped, spying on them, collecting them like trophies. His eyes widened, pained. It's not like that. Then what the hell is it? His voice cracked. It's survival. Connection. I couldn't talk to them, so I kept pieces. But you, he took a step closer, his desperation raw. You're not a piece. You're the whole damn picture. Something inside me trembled. I wanted to believe him. God help me, I wanted to. But trust was a fragile thing, and he had built his life out of lies and half-truths. I don't know if I can do this, I whispered. His hand hovered in the air, inches from mine, not daring to close the distance. Then at least don't walk away before you know the ending. The storm outside had calmed, but inside me, everything was unraveling. The town grew sharper, crueler. Whispers turned to accusations. Someone spray-painted liar on his front door. The sheriff warned me to stay away. My own reflection in the mirror accused me of betrayal. And yet I kept going back, kept listening, kept wanting, because every time I looked into his eyes, I saw the same loneliness carved into his bones that I carried in mine. And maybe, just maybe, you could learn how to be seen together. But I also knew secrets had a way of rotting in the dark. And sooner or later, the truth about him would burn everything down. Rumors have teeth in small towns. They bite, they infect, and they spread faster than the truth ever could. By the third week of his stay, the stranger had become the story everyone wanted to tell. Some said he'd fled from prison. Others swore he was some washed-up artist with a drug habit. The cruelest whispered he was cursed, that people who got too close to him ended up broken. And me? I was right in the center of it all, pretending my heart wasn't already tangled in the lies and truths he offered me on those damn tapes. One evening, Sheriff Donnelly called me into his office. He closed the blinds, leaned back in his chair, and fixed me with the kind of stare that stripped you down to bone. "You're watching him, aren't you?" I swallowed hard. "It's my job. Don't play me, kid. You've been driving down to that river house more than any case calls for." My throat tightened. Every excuse I'd practiced dissolved in the weight of his gaze. "You think I don't remember being young?" Donnelly's voice softened, just a fraction. "Wanting someone you weren't supposed to want? But you have to be careful. This town won't forgive you if they think you're compromised." Compromised. The word lingered like smoke. When I left the station that night, I sat in my car staring at the darkened streets, wondering how long before the whispers caught fire and burned me down too. The next tape arrived differently. Not in my mailbox, not on my windshield, but slipped beneath my door while I slept. The thought of him standing outside my apartment while I dreamed made my skin prickle. I pressed play the moment I found it. He was outside this time, the camera shaking in his hand as rain dripped from his hair. Behind him, the river glimmered like molten silver. His voice was low, almost broken. "I don't know how much longer I can stay here. Every glance feels like a blade. Every whisper feels like a stone in my chest. But then, I think of you, and I can't leave. Not yet. Not until I know if you'll stop me." The tape cut off abruptly, static crackling through my apartment. I pressed the heels of my palms to my eyes, fighting back something that felt dangerously like tears. He was unraveling, and I was unraveling with him. The turning point came on a Saturday night. The town held its annual fall festival. All pumpkins and hayrides and string lights wound around lamp posts. Kids shrieked with laughter. Couples danced to the live band. And I moved through it all like a ghost, unable to shake the weight of his words. Then I saw him. He stood on the edge of the crowd, hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets, eyes darting like a cornered animal. No one approached him. No one dared. He didn't belong here, and everyone knew it. But my feet moved before my brain could stop them. "You shouldn't be here," I whispered when I reached him. "Neither should you," he murmured back, his lips curving into the smallest, saddest smile. Our shoulders brushed, the barest touch, and yet it felt like a brand. Every nerve in my body screamed with awareness. "Why are you doing this to me?" I asked, my voice raw. His eyes lifted, locking onto mine with unbearable intensity. "Because you're the only thing that feels real." A firework cracked overhead, scattering sparks across the sky. But all I could see was him. And in that moment, I wanted nothing more than to take his hand, to walk away from the crowd, to let the world fall away until there was nothing left but the two of us. Instead, I turned and walked into the dark, my chest splitting open with every step. The tapes grew more desperate after that. His confessions sharper, more vulnerable. "I dream about you," he said on one, his voice trembling. "Not in ways I can explain, not in ways I should, but it's the only thing keeping me alive." On another, "They'll never understand us. They don't even want to. But maybe, we don't need them to." Each tape was a blade and a bomb, carving me open even as it soothed the wounds. But then came the tape that changed everything. He wasn't alone in this one. The camera shook violently, as though set down in haste. I could hear raised voices, his and another man's, deep and furious. The stranger staggered into view, a bruise blooming across his cheek, eyes wild with fear. "Don't follow me," he shouted at the unseen figure. "I told you it's over." The screen went black. My blood ran cold. Who was after him? And why had he left this tape for me to see? I drove to the river house that night, my siren silent, my hands trembling on the wheel. His porch light was out, but his front door was ajar. Inside, the place was a wreck, tapes scattered, furniture overturned, a lamp shattered across the floor. My chest constricted as I called his name, my voice echoing through the empty rooms. No answer. Then, faintly from the back footsteps, I followed the sound, my heart in my throat, and there he was, sitting on the floor, his arms wrapped around his knees, blood drying on his lip. His eyes lifted when I entered, and for a moment, the fear in them softened into something achingly tender. You came. I dropped to my knees beside him, my hand hovering before I dared to touch his shoulder. What happened? He shook his head, tears streaking his face. I can't tell you. Not yet. If I do, you'll hate me. And I can't survive that. I wanted to demand answers. I wanted to shake him, to force the truth from his lips. But instead, I pulled him into my arms, his body trembling against mine, fragile and breakable and impossibly human. For the first time, we touched, and it was like setting fire to every secret I'd ever kept. Outside, the town slept, but inside that broken house, something shifted. I wasn't just his detective anymore. I wasn't his audience. I was his, and I knew, whatever shadows hunted him, I wasn't letting him face them alone. The night after I held him in my arms, I realized the truth wasn't going to wait for us anymore. Secrets rot when you bury them, and his were clawing to the surface. He finally spoke the next evening. His voice cracked, his hands trembling as if each word cost him pieces of himself. The man you saw on that tape, he whispered, eyes fixed on the floor. He's my brother. I blinked. Your brother? He nodded. Half-brother. He followed me here. He doesn't want me to be free. He wants me to go back. To keep hiding, to keep pretending. His breath hitched. He thinks I should be ashamed of who I am. That people like us don't deserve love, don't deserve to live openly. The bruise on his cheek, the fear in his eyes, it all fell into place. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked softly. Because every time I tried, I saw the way you looked at me, like I was worth something, and I didn't want to lose that. I reached for his hand, threading my fingers through his. You won't. Not now. Not ever. For the first time, his shoulders eased. For the first time, I saw a glimmer of belief in his eyes. But Claridge wasn't going to let us live quietly. By the end of the week, rumors had turned vicious. Someone spray-painted Sinner across my apartment door. The sheriff pulled me aside, his voice low but firm. You have to make a choice. Him or your badge. The words gutted me. My badge was everything I'd built. The only thing that had given me purpose in a town that never knew what to do with me. But him was the first person who made me feel alive. That night, another tape appeared. But this one wasn't left by him. It was shoved into my mailbox in a plain brown envelope. No name on it. I pressed play and my blood went cold. The screen showed us together. That night I had held him in the river house. Someone had filmed us. The message was clear. Our secret wasn't a secret anymore. The confrontation came 2 days later. His brother cornered him outside the grocery store, shouting words loud enough for half the town to hear. Words like shame, like abomination. I arrived just in time to see the stranger flinch as his brother raised a fist. Enough! I shouted, my badge flashing as I stepped between them. This ends now. His brother sneered. You think protecting him will save him? You think this town will ever accept either of you? I wanted to punch him. Instead, I stood tall, my hand steady on the stranger's back. I don't care what the town accepts. He's not alone anymore. And neither am I. The crowd that had gathered gasped, whispers rippling like wildfire. But I didn't look at them. I looked at him, and he looked back, his eyes wide, shimmering, like he couldn't believe I just said it out loud. We braced for hell after that. Some doors slammed when we walked by. Some friends stopped calling. The sheriff shook his head but didn't take my badge. And slowly, surprisingly, Other voices began to rise. Mrs. Crawford from the diner started setting coffee down at our table without asking, muttering, "About damn time someone in this town told the truth." A teenage boy left a note on my windshield. "Thank you for showing me it's possible. The world didn't end. It just changed. And so did we." Weeks passed. His brother left town. His threats burned out like matches in the rain. The tapes stopped appearing not because he'd stopped recording, but because he didn't need them anymore. One night, as we sat together on his porch, the river glittering under a sky full of stars, he handed me a final tape. "This one's different," he said, pressing it into my hand. "It's not a confession. It's not a secret. Us." I pressed play, and the screen filled with images of us lying, cooking in his tiny kitchen, arguing over which movie to watch, holding hands when we thought no one could see. Moments I hadn't even realized he'd captured, stitched together like proof that love wasn't always dramatic, it was sometimes soft, ordinary, painfully human. As the screen faded to black, his voice echoed one last time. "For the first time, I don't need to hide. Because with you, I've been seen." I turned to him, my throat tight, my heart bursting with something I didn't have words for. So I didn't use words. I kissed him. Slow, steady, certain. The world could burn, the town could talk, but in that moment, there was only us. Dawn rose over Claridge the next morning, painting the town in gold. People went about their lives gossiping, working, pretending nothing had changed. But something had. On the porch of the river house, we stood side by side, shoulders brushing, eyes on the horizon. Not hiding, not afraid. For the first time, we belonged. Together. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.